Dear fathers and brothers, God invites us in a very special way to reflect upon the love. God is always good, and He tells us how we have to live. Take the commandments of God. They speak about only two things. One is loving God. Another one is loving our neighbors. In another form, honoring God and honoring people. We might say, I love God. God is sufficient for me. If I say God is sufficient for me, I should express that in my deeds, in my actions. If I am able to do that, I know well God's desire and God's thirst will become active and alive in our lives. As Mother Teresa says, if you want to love the whole world, start from your home. It is very difficult. It's not that easy. We can love people. We can express our love to people who are not known to us. But to love people at home, in our own place, what does it mean? What does it tell us? They speak a lot of things. I accept them as they are. As Bible says, God loved us first. Knowing our own inabilities, knowing our own weaknesses, He loved us. God loved the sinners, but not the saints. If you are weak, if you feel that you are not all right, believe God loves you. He accepts you as you are. But what God does not like in you and in me is the deeds, how we reveal ourselves. Do we reveal ourselves to people that God dwells in us? That we cling on to God. Psalm 91:14 says, I will deliver those who love me. Which means what? Loving God will pave the way. Loving God will open the way. Loving God will help us to be sincere, to be committed, to be holy. Loving God will help us to be definitely purified and sanctified. Loving God will always safeguard us from sins. Loving God will help us to focus on the real goal. Loving God will enable us where we are, what we are, who we are. Loving God will scrutinize our own lives. Loving God will make us strong in our vocation. Loving God will make us perfect, because we all know that we are all imperfect people. And our imperfectness will receive perfectness and fullness only through the love of God. When I love God, when I keep God in the center of my life, what grows in me is the fear of God. Love of God will help me and enable me to grow in the fear of God. Growing in the fear of God is a base. That's why the proverb says, 1:7, fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Loving God will transform our lives. Loving God will help us and motivate us to grow in the fear of God. By growing in the fear of God, we will resemble God in every form, in every way. Even through our sight, our look, through our talking, speaking, our hearts will be completely for the Lord. Do we have that love for the Lord? All the martyrs gave themselves because they had the love. Love for God. When I have that love, let me show. Let me spread that fragrance to my people. Like Saint Maria Maximilian Kolbe. He loved God. That's why he saw that love. And he wanted to show that love to the neighbor who was suffering. When Francis of Assisi saw the leper, he went and embraced him, kissed his wounds. Why? He saw Jesus there. He saw the suffering of Jesus. When I love God, I start loving people, and especially people who are in need, people who are broken, people who are struggling, people who are in confused state, people who do not know what to do, how to go ahead. I start loving them. When I start loving them, I accept them. When I start accepting them, I say, do you want to see Jesus? Do you want to know the love of Jesus? Now this is how we show and present God's love through our lives. And let us ask ourselves, do we only love God or do we love only people? There are people who get people centralized. They love only people. They cling on to people. They say, I have to do this, I have to do that. Wonderful. But centralize God. The purpose of God's coming to this world is John 3:16. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten